If you're between 75 and 85 years old, and you're still doing even a few of the things I'm about to share with you today, I want you to know something important. You are not just getting by. You are truly remarkably rare. Because here's the truth nobody talks about enough. Most people, by this stage of life, have quietly let go of certain habits. Not because they wanted to, but because life pulled them away, one small excuse at a time. Maybe it was a knee that started aching. Maybe it was a friend who passed, and suddenly the walks just stopped. Maybe it was simply feeling tired in a way that never used to happen before. And if that sounds familiar, I want you to know there's no shame in it. That's just how it goes for most people. But some people are different. Some people, even at 75, even at 85, are still doing certain everyday things. Small things. Things you might not even think twice about. And those small things say something powerful about their body, their mind, and yes, even how many good years they likely have ahead. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 of those things. Some of them might surprise you. 1 or 2 might make you pause and think, wait, I'm still doing that. And if you are, I want you to feel proud, because that's rarer than you realize. But there's also one thing on this list that catches almost everyone off guard. It's something most people assume has nothing to do with aging well. And yet, doctors and researchers who study healthy older adults keep finding it, again and again, in the people who are thriving well into their 80s and beyond. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand, and more importantly, what you can still do about it, starting today. Let's start with something so simple, most people don't even think of it as a health habit at all. Walking. Just walking. Not power walking, not marathon training. I'm talking about the ordinary, everyday kind of walking. To the mailbox. Around the block. Through the grocery store without needing to stop and rest halfway through. Somewhere around age 65 or 70, many people start unconsciously shrinking their world. The walk to the corner store becomes a drive. The stroll through the park becomes something you used to do. And little by little, without ever making a decision about it, the legs stop being asked to do their job. And when that happens, something quiet but serious starts to unfold. The muscles that keep you steady on your feet begin to weaken. Balance becomes less reliable. And that's often the real story behind falls in later life. It's rarely one dramatic moment. It's usually years of the body slowly losing practice at something it used to do without thinking. So if you're still walking regularly, whether it's around your neighborhood, through a big box store, or just pacing your living room during commercials, you are doing something a surprising number of people your age have stopped doing. Now here's where most people make a mistake. They think walking is only about the legs. It's not. Every time you walk, your heart works a little harder, your lungs pull in a little more air, and your brain, believe it or not, gets a boost too. Regular walking has been linked to better memory and clearer thinking in older adults. It's almost like your brain and your legs are having a conversation, and walking is how they stay in touch. There's a second thing, closely tied to the first, and it's this. Are you still climbing stairs? I don't mean rushing up them. I mean simply being willing to. Some people, once they hit their 70s, start avoiding stairs altogether. They ask for the ground floor. They take the elevator, even for one flight. And I understand why. Stairs can feel risky if your knees ache or your balance feels uncertain. But avoiding stairs doesn't protect your body the way people assume. It actually speeds up the very decline they're trying to avoid. The muscles in your thighs and hips that stairs work are some of the exact muscles responsible for keeping you steady and preventing falls. When you stop using them, they don't wait patiently for you to come back. They start to fade. So if you're still willing to take the stairs, even slowly, even holding the railing, you're keeping a whole chain of strength and balance intact. And that chain matters more than most people realize, all the way into your 80s and beyond. Now, I mentioned earlier there's one habit on this list that catches almost everyone off guard. It's not diet. It's not exercise, at least not in the way you'd expect. And we're getting close to it. But first, there's something else worth understanding about the way certain people continue living their daily lives, something that quietly sets them apart from everyone else their age. Let's talk about something that happens in kitchens across America every single day, and most people never think twice about it. Cooking your own meals. Now, I don't mean anything fancy. I'm not talking about elaborate dinners with 5 courses. I mean the simple act of standing at your own stove, deciding what goes into your body, and making it yourself. Somewhere around retirement age, cooking often becomes optional in a way it never was before. Maybe it's just easier to grab something pre-made. Maybe family starts dropping off meals out of love, wanting to help. Maybe standing at the counter for 20 minutes just feels like more than it used to. And look, there's nothing wrong with accepting help. But something shifts when someone stops cooking for themselves altogether. They start losing touch with what's actually going into their food. The sodium, the sugar, the portion sizes. Little by little, control slips away, even when nobody intended for it to. So if you're still standing at your stove, still deciding what goes on your plate, you're holding on to something a lot of people your age have handed over to someone else. And that's not a small thing. Researchers who study healthy aging have noticed that older adults who prepare their own meals tend to eat more vegetables, more fiber, and fewer processed ingredients, simply because they're the ones in control of the recipe. There's a common assumption I want to clear up here. A lot of people think that once you reach your 70s or 80s, your taste buds and your habits are basically set in stone. That's simply not true. I've talked to people in their 80s who started experimenting with new spices, new vegetables, new ways of cooking, and genuinely fell in love with food again. Age doesn't close that door. Only assuming it's closed does. Let's move to something else, something that might surprise you because it doesn't sound like a health habit at all. Reading. Not just skimming headlines. I mean sitting down, whether it's a novel, a newspaper, or the Bible, and actually reading for a stretch of time. Reading asks your brain to do something television simply doesn't. It asks you to hold information, follow a thread, imagine a scene, remember what happened a few pages back. It's quiet, gentle exercise for the mind, and it happens every single time you pick up a book. Many people don't realize that reading regularly in later life has been associated with slower rates of memory decline. Not because reading is magic, but because it keeps a part of the brain active that often goes quiet once someone stops using it daily. And here's where it gets interesting. It's not really about how much someone reads. It's about the consistency. 15 minutes a day, sitting with a book, seems to matter more than an occasional long session. Your brain, like your body, responds to regular, gentle use far better than the occasional burst of effort. So if you're still curling up with a book most evenings, while the TV sits quietly off in the corner, you're doing something for your mind that a lot of people your age have unknowingly let slip away. Now, we're getting close to that one habit I mentioned. The one that surprises almost everyone. It has nothing to do with food and nothing to do with exercise. And yet, in study after study on adults who are thriving well into their 80s and 90s, this one thing keeps showing up again and again, almost like a quiet thread running through all of them. All right, here it is, the one I promised you. The habit that catches almost everyone off guard. It's staying socially connected. Not just having family who love you. I mean actively keeping relationships alive, picking up the phone to call a friend, showing up to church on Sunday, chatting with a neighbor while getting the mail, sitting down for coffee with someone once a week. When we think about aging well, we think about the body. Blood pressure, cholesterol, joints. We rarely think about conversation as medicine. But that's exactly what researchers who study longevity have found, again and again. Older adults who maintain regular, meaningful social contact tend to have better heart health, sharper memory, and yes, even longer lives than those who become isolated. And here's the part that really surprises people. Loneliness doesn't just feel bad emotionally. It creates real, measurable stress on the body, similar in some ways to the toll of poor diet or lack of movement. When someone becomes isolated, their body quietly registers it as a threat, and that steady low hum of stress can wear on the heart and the immune system over time. So if you're still calling your sister every Sunday, still showing up for coffee with the same two friends you've had for 30 years, still chatting with the cashier at the grocery store like she's an old friend, you're protecting yourself in ways most people never connect to health at all. There's a mistake a lot of people make as they get older, too. They assume that once the big milestones of life are behind them, retirement, kids grown, grandkids grown too, there's no reason to keep building new relationships. So they stop trying. They let old friendships fade and never replace them with new ones. But the people who thrive well into their 80s tend to do the opposite. They stay a little curious about people. They join a group at the community center. They strike up conversation with someone new at church. They keep their circle alive, even as it naturally changes shape over the years. Now let's talk about the sixth thing, and this one ties everything else together. It's simply this: continuing to learn something new. I don't mean going back to school. I mean staying curious. Learning to use a new gadget, even if it takes 3 tries and a little frustration. Picking up a hobby you've never tried. Watching a documentary about something you know nothing about just because it interests you. The brain doesn't stop being capable of growth just because someone turns 75 or 80 or 85. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, and it simply means your brain can keep forming new connections at any age, as long as you keep giving it new things to work with. The moment someone decides they're too old to learn, that's often when the mind genuinely starts to slow down. Not because of age, because of the decision to stop trying. So if you're still willing to fumble through learning your grandchild's video game, or figure out a new recipe, or pick up a paintbrush for the first time in decades, you're keeping your mind young in a way that has very little to do with your birth certificate. So let's bring this all together, because I want you to really sit with what we've talked about today. Walking, taking the stairs, cooking your own meals, reading regularly, staying connected to the people around you, and staying curious enough to keep learning something new. None of these things require a gym membership. None of them require a special diet, a doctor's prescription, or any dramatic life change. And that's exactly why they matter so much. They're not flashy. They're not the kind of thing anyone throws a celebration for. But quietly, consistently, They're the very things separating the people who thrive at 75, 80, and 85 from those who simply get by. Here's what I really want you to understand. If you listened to this list and thought, I'm still doing 3 of those, maybe 4, I want you to feel genuinely proud of that. Not everyone your age can say the same. You have held on to something a lot of people have let slip away, whether through circumstance, through fear, or simply through the slow drift that happens when nobody's paying attention. And if you realize there are 1 or 2 you've let go of, I don't want you to feel discouraged. I want you to feel something better than that. Hopeful. Because unlike so many things in life, these 6 habits are almost entirely within your control, starting today. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect health. You just need to take the next small step. A short walk this afternoon. A phone call to an old friend this evening. A new recipe this weekend. The body and mind respond to consistency, not perfection. Nobody thriving at 85 got there by doing everything right every single day. They got there by continuing to show up for these small things again and again, especially on the days it would have been easier not to. So here's my gentle challenge for you. Pick just one thing from this list, the one that spoke to you the most, and do it today. Not next week. Not someday. Today. Because the truth is, you don't have to wait until you're 75 or 80 to start building this kind of life. And if you're already there, it's never too late to pick one of these habits back up. If this video meant something to you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Maybe a spouse, a neighbor, or an old friend who could use a little encouragement. And if you haven't already, consider joining our little community here by subscribing, because we'll keep having these honest, heartfelt conversations about living a healthier, fuller life at any age. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one.